You gonna watch on there? Okay, now Sarah is officially live feeding this. Um, yeah, one of the, in keeping with the motto of this group, I need you to turn that down.
I know, sorry.
In keeping with the motto of the group, talk to me. That's why I want to do these live videos. We got to be real with people. And you have to be willing to put yourself out there. Just like those who are going through suicidal thoughts, you have to be willing to put yourself out there to someone you know and trust, like in the first letter of our acronym, REST. So, like I was saying, Sarah's perspective is extremely valuable because she is the one who had to be there for me as I was going through horrible depression. And she was able to successfully keep me alive when I was determined to not be alive anymore. And that seems really weird to say now. I mean, it's so surreal. But that's the reality that so many people are facing, and they are losing that battle all too often. So I'm just gonna kind of turn it over to Sarah, and she's been really nervous about this, but that's a good thing because it means she's exposing herself and being real. So just kind of start about when you first met me and when we first got married. Did you ever see what was coming? I mean, did you expect that at all?
No.
Yeah.
No, like we talked a lot when we were dating, and you talked about your PTSD, and at first that was kind of scary to me because I thought, oh man, is he gonna like punch me in the middle of the night or get a knife to have to worry about, stuff like that. But I think that was part of the key, is just we communicated, and you told me like what you would go through and what I would kind of expect in that moment. And but yeah, so we talked.
Looks like Shane's watching.
Hi,
Shane.
We talked a bit when we were dating, but like it still didn't prepare me for like when we finally got married. And because then you're living with the person daily, and so you see a lot more, and I guess kind of jump into the situation a bit more than when you're just dating. It is different. So I got to see it on a daily basis through, things with work that would kind of trigger you, or things at home that would trigger you, or just stressful situations. And
so I noticed it in myself. So you're saying that you noticed that stress affected me way more than the average person?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And that's kind of one of the hallmarks of PTSD, is when you're exposed to a stress that most people are exposed to, like, it doesn't just upset you for part of the day. Like when I would get stressed out, like when something bad would happen at work, I would just be angry, and I would just be emotionally wiped out for the entire day.
Yeah.
And it would just be so exhausting in every way.
Yeah.
And poor Sarah had to.
Well, and sometimes when you'd come home, like, I could tell if it was a good day or a bad day, and sometimes I could pull you out of that, and then sometimes it just, you just had to let it run, let it run its course, and then eventually you'd be okay and get back.
So what did a bad day look like? Like, what were my behaviors that told you?
I know you're having a real bad day when you withdraw, when you really turn inward, and you don't participate, you don't express anything. I can't really get you to talk to me. You don't involve yourself with the kids. I can tell. It's usually like
and it's when I'm going through that, it's so hard for me to know and realize what's going on. Like a lot of times, like at the end of the day, I would get home and just my head would hurt and my whole jaw and the jaw muscles would hurt because I didn't realize I was clenching my jaw and grinding my teeth all day. And it's just like this weight that you're carrying that you have no idea that you're carrying. Yeah, I want to say hi to Heather and Sam too. Glad you guys are with us. So tell me about times when it was more than just a bad PTSD day or anxiety. Like, tell me about the first time that I was really suicidal. What was that like for you?
Well, I didn't really see the suicide coming. Kind of really took me by surprise, but I could tell, like, during that time, it was just, you were just way off, and it was like never-ending offness, if that makes sense.
Wow.
It was just like, I didn't matter what I did, what I said, it just seemed like nothing could really snap you away from that, and you just seemed down a lot, and like I could tell you were depressed, I could tell you were in a low place, but I didn't realize it was that low at the time. And so that first time when you...
Okay, so take us there situationally.
Okay.
When and where was it? What was happening?
So I don't remember exactly the time frame. It was after your work accident. Emma and Caleb weren't there, so it was somewhere between like May and June before they came out.
Yeah.
That you were out of work, and that is very detrimental for someone who bouts with depression. They need to feel worthwhile and have something to keep them going. And so you were laid off. You couldn't do any work for 5 months, and I think it was about the time where they had to put the pump on your foot.
Yeah, my foot was crushed at work, and they had to put a wound vac on my foot. And it was just because the skin was destroyed on my left foot, and it was like growing new skin. It was like worse than a skin graft. So I was just so frustrated and in so much pain all the time, trying to regrow the skin on my foot. So it was like the stress of the pain, the stress of being mind-numbingly bored, and the stress of not being able to provide for my family was just all adding up.
Now that I think about it, I don't think you had the pump on yet, the wound vac yet.
Okay.
I think it was before that.
Yeah, it was right before that, yep.
But yeah, it was still really hard just because you thought you were going to be back to work like within 6 weeks, and it just kept going and going, and so, I don't know, you were just in that cycle of just going down, you're spiraling downwards, and just that night, it was late, and I was getting ready for bed, and in saying my prayers, and I heard pills pop on the counter, and at first I just thought, oh, he's just setting up his pills for your bed,
just putting my pills in my weekly pill sorter kind of thing. Yeah.
And then I just got in the middle of my prayer, I just remember feeling an urgency to check on Sam. And so I didn't finish my prayers. And I just got out.
So you just, in the middle of your prayer, just stood up?
Yeah, just walked out, and I just saw you right at the bar there.
In the kitchen.
All of your pills were laid out on the counter, and you were just staring at them. Just like you were like way zoned out, like you weren't even there. And I remember just walking over to you and just kind of looking at you, and I just said, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, and it was like that crucial moment where I had just decided, finally, my pain is going to be over. And
Yeah. And you didn't answer me.
man,
And then I just said, "Are you going to take those?" And then you just said, "I don't know. I don't know."
yeah. So, okay, two quick things here. Hate to interrupt you.
No, it's
This
okay.
is a good point. So first of all, Justin has a good question. Um, Justin asks, did you ever cope through your PTSD and struggle using substances? And the answer is yes. Kind of before my divorce from my ex-wife and after it, until I met Sarah, I smoked, I drank, I even tried marijuana a few times, and I hated that, honestly. But yeah, I was in a downward spiral. Um, and then meeting Sarah, I decided I'm gonna do what it takes to be worthy of this woman, But that just goes to show that that wasn't the end of my struggles. Once you're an addict, you're always an addict for the rest of that life, and you're never going to be necessarily free from those temptations. And it's just an onward struggle. And in my darkest suicidal moments, my mind always went there. Like, sometimes it wasn't necessarily that I wanted to die, that I just wanted to shut off the pain however I had to. And just the idea of being in a coma was very appealing sometimes. And it's just like Corey Hansen said, for people that have never gone through that, it's really hard for them to wrap their head around. But I just wanted to bring up something my brother Shane, who's watching, said to me earlier today. He's been working with the VA and with soldiers, and he's done a lot of training and learned a lot about depression and PTSD and suicide. And one of the biggest myths about suicide is that if you approach someone and ask them, are you planning on committing suicide, that's going to push them over the edge and they're going to commit suicide. The exact opposite is true. And it goes right back to our motto, talk to me. Mm-hmm. Whenever you suspect anyone of being suicidal, you have to do what Sarah did and confront that person because you love them. You're not trying to be confrontational. You're taking the weapon out of their hands that they could hurt themselves with. And you just have to remember that we have to open up communication and dialogue with those that we love. So after that, what was your thinking once you had experienced that? What did you go through?
I mean, personally? Or?
Personally and emotionally, yeah. What did that cause you to experience?
Honestly, it kind of brought on my own PTSD. And just, I don't know, and maybe some worthlessness. Maybe feeling like I wasn't enough for you to want to stay, feelings.
Yeah.
Which is hard, but I still love you.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
Yeah. But yeah, after, your kind of third bout with suicidal thoughts and plans, and us finally getting you into the hospital for inpatient, there was a sense of relief, but at the same time, it was really scary and still the unknown, you know what I mean? And like even like times when you were struggling with a couple weeks or almost a month ago, when you seemed really depressed and you're struggling, it's hard because you kind of, it's kind of sad, but I've kind of have had to come to a point and a realization that there may come a point where you do decide to end it. And as much as I want to stop that and will do whatever it takes to stop that, I don't know what the right word is for it, but I kind of come to a sense of peace and realization that I have really no control over that.
Yeah.
And so, but that's taken a long time to kind of get there. And like I said, it's not that I won't do whatever it takes to keep you away from that, but it's just, I don't know, it's just a really hard place to be in, and you kind of live it, not on a daily basis, but it's there. It never leaves the back of your mind, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Kind of like a miscarriage.
So like you say, there's been 3 occasions where you have successfully intervened and kept me from hurting myself. Like, is there any one thing that happened all 3 of those times that you think helped you be successful in keeping alive?
Honestly, I think for me, it's been a lot of prayer, and a lot of faith, and just trying to be connected with you, and and just kind of being aware and sensing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think of that last time where
I was
where
at
you're at work
up at Lehigh High School.
Yeah, and
Yeah. So I was like an hour away.
Yeah, an hour and a half away. And I drove all the way up there and just waited till I could talk to you, and I just knew. You had turned off your phone, you weren't answering me, I knew something was off. And I just went to you and confronted you again.
Yeah, that was a very, very surreal experience for me, because that was a time where I'd been struggling with depression for a while, and it just came to that point where I was like, my inner pain was so bad that all of a sudden during that work day, I just up and decided that it was over, and I was done, and I made a plan, and I was going to kill myself. And from that moment on, I just felt a huge relief. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. And sure enough, Sarah drove all the way from Spring City in an hour. And one coworker's like, hey, there's someone outside the job site looking for you, asking for Sam Schaefer. And I was like, what? You know? And I went out there, and there's Sarah standing there, and it was like I knew I was caught. You know, I felt like a guilty little child that had just been caught, and it was very relieving. But at the same time, being caught, because I knew then I couldn't go through with it. I knew that I could not do that to my wife, and so it started bringing the pain back. So then I went, when was it? When I went to the VA.
It was that following,
it was like, weekend. Yeah, we made it through the weekend, and then that following Monday, I had an appointment at the VA to see my psychologist, and I went to the VA, and they couldn't see me, and I told them I am in crisis, like I was in tears, standing in front of them, and it was so humiliating and hard. And they just turned me away. So I drove myself from that VA clinic to the ER. And I did that because of Sarah's intervention. It was amazing what that did for me. Like Shane says, it's the opposite of what the myth says is true. Like, Once Sarah intervened and showed me that she was willing to drive over an hour to come and make sure I was okay, I knew I could put her through that. And it gave me enough sense, like we say, to carry me all the way through the weekend. And then I checked myself in at the ER, and I just said, I need help. I need help. And like I said in an earlier post, it was like I felt like I was drowning, and I took a rest. And there, back to my acronym I made that I've shared with you guys, REST. You know, when you feel like you're drowning, you stop and you float and you relax. So R is reach out to someone that you know and trust. E, explain to them exactly what you're feeling and what your plan was. S, stimulate your mind with relaxing music and meditation, reading. And then the last one is T, and that's take time to do a hobby or serve yourself or serve someone else in need. So just, if you get nothing else from this group and from us, just whenever you yourself are going through this or you know someone else who is going through this, just remember that acronym, REST, and intervene. And be that person that's willing to confront someone and stop them in their tracks. And then Shane had a really good question for you. I've been asking people what I should ask you in this interview, and I thought this really good question is, so poor you who's scared and have given you this traumatic experience, and now you have your own PTSD. So what do you use for your resources? How do you get help? And that's just as important, because if the caregiver isn't well off, then you can't give care. So
that's true.
What do you, as that spouse who's watching your husband go through this, how do you get help? What are your resources?
It's probably a lot of just talking to other people. Like, I've talked to my mom a lot.
So you have other people that you know and trust that you can lean on.
Yeah.
So your mom and
like when you're going through a hard time, I'll just call her, and that way it helps me, because I might be feeling really anxious or anxiety about what's going on or worried about you, and just talking to somebody about you and that situation helps me to just, I guess, kind of gather my thoughts and feelings and just, I don't know, work through the situation. So I think that's what's helped me the most, is just reaching out to somebody else and talking about it. And that way I don't feel like I'm in the situation alone.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, because definitely that's not something you really can do on your own. Like, if someone's determined to take their life, you have to immediately start enlisting help.
Yeah.
And one of the best things we've done is when we were at our rock bottom together, when we miscarried and we lost our son Stephen, we signed up for couples therapy together, and then we went to see the therapist, and he said, you guys don't really need couples therapy, have a great relationship. So we did is we did therapy together for 2 hours, and 1 hour was for me and 1 hour was for Sarah, and it was an amazing experience. And that was another resource. And that's another reason that we started this group, is because, and this charity that we're starting, is that can get expensive. Co-pays in the ER for hospital stays to stay alive, and then going to therapy, that's like, can be, over $100 a session. So, and all those times made me feel horrible. I already felt bad, obviously, and then feeling like, God, this money is being taken away from my family, because of my weakness. That's the last thing we want people to feel. So all of the donations from you guys are going to go to helping people pay these bills so that they can fight this battle and stay alive. Because we know all too well what it's like to be strapped for cash and then have these other additional needs. It's not easy. And that's what we want to be able to do for people. So,
Yeah.
so any more thoughts? What's like? I'll ask you what I asked Tori. Looking ahead, what's the number one thing you want everyone watching to know?
Um. I guess. Just don't do it alone. And I guess don't worry about what other people think in the situation that you're going through. You know, because like I go back and think about, you know, we went through 3 battles of suicidal, attempts and thoughts and plans, and it's like I had someone ask me, well, why didn't you just check them in the first time? And it's like, unless you're in that situation and are there in that moment, you don't really know what's going on. And just as it's scary to watch your loved one in that situation, it's just as scary for you that is watching that loved one in that situation. And I was attempting to call someone that night, and you stopped me, and that's okay. But yeah, just do what it takes, and you just don't worry about anybody else, and but also too, it just like I think of the saying, it takes a village to raise a child. Well, it's like, well, why does that village just have to be for a child?
Yeah.
Us as adults, we still need that village and that support system. I think that's what. That's not popping up.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You'll probably hear it.
That's what. It takes a community to help even an individual, and I remember when you went into the hospital, reaching out to other people and people reaching out to me, and trying to find that support system, and not, still trying to respect your privacy, but still trying to get the support I needed to make it through, and just get our family through. So just don't do it alone. Reach out to other people. Like I said, I talk to my mom a lot. If you have a good friend or somebody else who you could talk to in that situation. And family is friends, I think that was really helpful, because when you were checked in the hospital, I was pregnant with Sage, and I had Shem I was watching. It wasn't like I could leave all the time to come up to be with you at your visiting hours. But then I had family come.
Yeah, and my best friend and his dad came, and
just that support system, and that really helped me out, not feeling like I had to do it all, and just having that support system.
Yeah, and like Sarah says, it's so important to not care what other people think. That's the kind of thinking that gets us into depression and suicidal thoughts a lot of times in the first place. And what really matters is what we think of ourselves and not what other people think of us. And the more we can learn to honestly evaluate ourselves and positively apply what we learn, then the less what other people think is going to matter, and the better agent of positive change we can be for ourselves and others. So
I think the other thing that comes to my mind is just communication, especially in that moment. Like I remember that night that you took the pills, and just I just felt like I needed to get you to talk, so I just kept asking questions.
It's perfect.
I just kept asking question after question. Sometimes you could answer me, and sometimes you couldn't, and sometimes
it was, she would ask me a question, and it was either that I couldn't put into words, and sometimes I couldn't answer her because the truth about what I wanted to do to myself was so embarrassing and so shameful. But it was so important for her to ask that question nonetheless, because even though I couldn't verbalize it to her, it still made me be able to think critically about myself and just be like, what the heck are you thinking, man? Like, seriously, you know? So it goes right back to our motto, talk to me. And even if, like Sarah felt sometimes, it felt like she was talking to a brick wall and not getting answers, that's what you have to do to someone who is clearly not in their right mind. Just keep talking, keep asking. Just don't give up. Even when it seems like they are completely giving up on themselves, when they see that you aren't giving up on them, that makes a big difference. So absolutely keep talking. And just, that's how they're going to know that you care about them, and that will deter them from making a horrible, irreversible decision. So, I just want to remind you guys, we have the wristbands now. Stay still in the battle and talk to me. So what we're planning on doing, we're planning on giving 3 wristbands for a donation of $10 or so or more, if you can afford it, and all that money will go to helping people. So if you want the wristbands, message me or Sarah. I pointed at you and I said me or Sarah. Message either of us and give us your address, and we will mail you the wristbands. So the goal is keep one for yourself and give wristbands to 2 others who you think would benefit from being a part of this community, and just keep spreading the word and let people know that we are there and you are there, and let's just keep this growing and keep trying to help each other. So thanks guys for watching, and we'll see you again next week with another interview. Bye.